Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gaming News, where we discuss different topics within the gaming industry. And today, October 29th, we are going to discuss more information about Activision Blizzard as it continues to develop over the weeks. And of course, some of the things of the lawsuit we have covered leading up to this point. And if you're interested in those, definitely take a look at previous videos that I've released where I do cover everything going on with Activision Blizzard. But there is more news, of course, developing, and we're going to cover that right now. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing, of course, that we are discussing today is Activision Blizzard, and there are a few moving parts, a few different things that have occurred throughout this week as we've continually seen what's been going on because of the two lawsuits between the DFEH and the EEOC versus Activision Blizzard. And we have a couple of different articles surrounding the situation that we are going to show right here. So first up is Activision Blizzard's attempt to halt the lawsuit was rejected officially. And this is a good thing. It means they can't continue to sweep information under the rug between the two lawsuits and trying to use one issue with ethics take down both potential lawsuits because they have similar facts. And this article talks a little bit about that. So the request to pause the ongoing lawsuit has been rejected. The developer and publisher tried to put the suit on hold following an ongoing battle between the DFEH and the State Department currently suing Activision Blizzard for discrimination and sexual harassment, and the EEOC. And the EEOC had also brought a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, which was settled on the same day it went public for $18 million. Now, the DFEH opposed the settlement, saying that it would cause irreparable harm to its own lawsuit. The EEOC then hit back, revealing the two of the lawyers heading up the DFEH case had formerly worked on the EEOC with its investigation into Activision Blizzard, which is the same investigation that led to the settlement. Now, obviously, we did talk about the ethics violation that occurred previously, but there was another thing that was interesting in this article, which was that obviously the county judge, Timothy Patrick Dillon, was not having any of the excuses thrown at them by Activision Blizzard for staying the lawsuit. And the county judge did not give reason for denial. Also consider the fact that they are looking to potentially move to complex court, which is something that we covered in, I believe, last week's episode of Gaming News, where all parties agreed that this should be prosecuted and dealt with in a different style of courtroom, and it was one of the very few points for which both parties agreed upon terms. But the fact that the judge decided, or the county judge decided not to give a reason for denying, does give, some ideas as to the complexity and the issues and the media sort of surrounding the case. But then there's more information. In PC Gamer's article, where they've covered various things regarding all of the actions that Activision Blizzard has taken, all of the issues that led up to the lawsuits. This article covers all of that, but they also sat down and had a conversation with a lawyer about what to expect from the lawsuit itself, and I highlighted a few points that I wanted to cover here, which is the DFEH lawsuit has started a public maelstrom for Activision, but a court hearing could be weeks or months off if the case goes to trial at all, as long as they don't try to settle out of court like they did the other one. The lawyer, Kellen Voyer, said, "I don't see either case as going to an actual trial," referring to the DFEH's case against Activision Blizzard, as well as one it filed against Riot Games, which is a very interesting thing to note that the DFEH is now really plugging down on various AAA companies that are also conducting sexual harassment and having allegations against them. So, this is kind of a very interesting point to make. The lawyer continued, "Typically, the parties will settle out once the defendant has a better idea of the evidence being brought by the state and the strength of its case," which is also not uncommon. If they don't feel like the case has two legs to stand on, they will try and settle so that it doesn't go to the court of public opinion, if you will, and therefore not sully the reputation of the company. And there are a lot of companies and corporations that would rather just pay a few $1,000,000 to sweep something under the rug as opposed to have a very large public trial like what Activision Blizzard is going through currently from multiple fronts. Anyways, the lawyer continued, "The current negative press is another reason why the companies will not want to go through the long public trial. Because the DFEH's investigation into Activision Blizzard must have been ongoing for some time, the lawyer says the lawsuit is a way to publicly push Activision Blizzard into a settlement. The DFEH filing does request a jury trial, but this is standard practice and doesn't rule out the likely possibility of a settlement before trial begins." So, going on the assumption that it will do what companies typically do, which is settle out of court because it's better overall to do it that way than it is to go through a long and arduous legal battle. It is cheaper ultimately to just settle out of court and come to terms with that kind of thing than it is to go through the court proceeding. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, going after a company as big as Activision Blizzard gives the DFEH a chance to make a public spectacle. Even if it doesn't have a strong evidence to push the company into a multi-million-dollar settlement, it could have significant ramifications, which we've seen. There have been a lot of people who have been fired or who have left the company. There are a bunch of people whose reputations are now completely sullied and have a much harder chance to continue in the video gaming industry, and in fact, may have a harder time in a lot of different industries if they look up the information as to why they left their previous place of work. So, it's not surprising that ramifications will happen as a result of some kind of large court case anyways, but even having all of the public eye on the lawsuits and on Activision Blizzard shows significant ramifications, not just in Activision Blizzard, but that other companies are stepping forward and making deliberate statements about how they are accepting and welcoming, and that they are making sure that all of their payment options are equal between the staff members, and that a lot of these other companies now fear being pegged by the DFEH in this particular situation because of how much Activision Blizzard is being punished right in front of their eyes. So, The lawyer goes on to say, to make an example of a company, even through the filing of the case and the negative PR that results for the company, will hopefully effectuate change through deterrence by putting companies on notice that there are real material ramifications for failing to address toxic culture. And that's really the crux of the whole situation, is that it seems to be that it is the lawyer's opinions that Activision Blizzard is going through a lot of these issues right now to make a very big statement to gaming companies in general that this is not acceptable. I came across this article from a couple of days ago stating that Blizzard has canceled BlizzCon among the harassment scandal and the fallout preceding it. And this doesn't surprise me at all, considering the last BlizzCon was actually hosted online on Twitch. It seemed like good sense that they would cancel BlizzCon this year. And so I've got some interesting quotes from that. Following an online-only BlizzCon earlier this year, Blizzard announced in May that its annual announcement packed convention for 2022 would be combining an online show along the lines of our recent BlizzCon line with smaller in-person gatherings. Today, though, the company says it is taking a step back and pausing the planning for that event. And they continue after addressing some of the issues that, as part of its reimagining of what BlizzCon will look like going forward, the company acknowledges that it needs to ensure that BlizzCon feels safe, welcoming, and inclusive as possible. Finally, I have a quote here. Blizzard says it will still be making announcements and updates for our games through the company's franchise channels going forward. Those coming announcements may have a little less pop, though, without the pomp and bombast of an event like BlizzCon to focus industry attention on the company. And of course, it doesn't surprise me that this would be what they would decide, because they obviously are going to have to deal with the massive fallout. They're going to have to deal with some of their lead game designers moving on to other companies and that kind of thing. Not to mention any of the financial ramifications of the whole situation, just the reputation of the company in general, and how many people are going to be willing to support Activision Blizzard after everything. And they do talk previously in this that they were charging $125 per ticket, and they were still running at a substantial loss from the BlizzCon event. So doing an online or drip feeding it through press releases and that kind of thing will be less expensive in the long run. And then we also got a wonderful letter from CEO Bobby Kotick regarding the commitments that he is making and reinforcing the ideas that he's been trying to impress upon people for the company and for its staff. And I highlighted a few things in this. A lot of it was, I'm sorry, we'll do better, and we want to be more inclusive, and we're dedicated, and da 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 da. But he's stated in this letter to the investors that we've made progress over the last few years fostering that diversity and creating a better work environment, a commitment that has improved in scope and speed in recent months. We've tripled our investment in anti-harassment and anti-discrimination training. We've made meaningful organizational changes, and we've substantially increased resources for reporting and carefully investigating improper behavior. The EEOC's investigative process, public discussion on discrimination and harassment, and your reports and suggestions helped shine a light on practices we need to improve, policies that need to be strengthened, and resources we are now adding. The EEOC's review was a catalyst to sharpen our focus on the ways we can become a company others emulate as a model for workplace excellence and one with an unwavering commitment to its values. So he made note of 5 new changes that they are implementing to keep in line with the new changes and hoping that they can really get their heads out of the mud. And I've highlighted the 5 different things. I'm not going to read all of the details surrounding those. I'll leave a link below. Number 1, they are launching a new zero tolerance harassment policy company wide. They are increasing the percentage of women and non-binary people in our workforce by 50% and will invest $250 million to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent. Number 3, based on feedback from employees, we are waiving required arbitration of sexual harassment and discrimination claims, although I'm not sure if the arbitration still remains in-house or not, so that is something we will have to take a look at. Number 4, we will continue to increase visibility on pay equity. And number 5, we will provide regular progress updates. So he continued to talk a little bit more about other interesting notes, and I believe that Bobby Kotick really wants to try and save the company as much as possible, even with his underhanded tactics, because he has said, lastly, we want to ensure that every available resource is being used in the service of becoming the industry leader in workplace excellence, which is the second time he said that. Accordingly, I have asked our board of directors to reduce my total compensation until the board has determined that we have achieved the transformational gender-related goals and other commitments described above. Specifically, I have asked the board to reduce my pay to the lowest amount California law will allow for people earning a salary, which this year is $62,500. To be clear, this is a reduction in my overall compensation, not just my salary. I am asking not to receive any bonuses or be granted any equity during this time. Now, that is huge considering the fact that previously he did actually take a pay cut, which we also covered in a previous gaming news video. And although he didn't make the performance requirements to get the millions of dollars of bonus that he would be receiving that year, the investors decided that for this point in time, we will give you a certain amount and we will allow it to go through. But the stipulation is you must make your quotas, you must do what is set out in your contract, or we will not afford you the same leniency. And I'm wondering if some of this is towards having that goodwill from the investors and from the public that, hey, you can now no longer jump down my ass for saying I'm making millions upon millions of dollars when I have requested specifically to have the lowest amount possible, and I have foregoed any bonuses or granted any equity whatsoever. And I did say it wasn't going to happen overnight. I did say that it was going to take a long time to make those changes, but it has certainly incited enough fear into other companies, and specifically other AAA companies, that they're effectively on notice. But finally, there's also stuff about Activision Blizzard that has come out that is not fantastic either necessarily. Vicarious Visions is dropping its name as it fully merges with Blizzard. So this merger happened back in January from my understanding, and they thought everything was going to be business as usual, but it turns out that might not be the case. Activision Blizzard informed Vicarious Visions employees Wednesday that the studio would lose its name as part of its ongoing merger with Blizzard Entertainment, sources told Polygon. Vicarious Visions workers told Polygon that they were initially under the impression the merger meant their employer would continue to operate as its own studio, although it was owned by Blizzard. Leadership said there were no layoffs currently planned, according to the employees who spoke to Polygon. With the merger already announced and underway, staffers didn't expect much to change otherwise, but some employees noted that there were still a lot of questions unanswered. For all of the leadership's talks about being more transparent in response to the lawsuit and resulting fiasco, the fact they decided to blindside us with this feels about as far from transparent as you can get. And that just goes to show you that Activision Blizzard seems like they're focusing all of their energy on making sure that their reputation is in alignment, but that other things have somewhat fallen by the wayside as they're not being transparent with their other divisions about decisions that they're making regarding situations like this where there is a merger of a company. And from that particular Polygon article, they also discussed the idea that they're losing the name Vicarious Visions, but also it's rumored that they will now be titled Blizzard Albany because Albany is where they are located. And normally, according to other sources, whenever something is titled like that and under the Blizzard name, that it's meant as a satellite office. So we may end up seeing some layoffs or some reshuffling of company staff or that merger just being shelled out and used for other purposes. Who knows? But it just goes to show you that a lot of their attention and focus is obviously on the lawsuits and making sure to beef up their reputation, where other smaller companies that they have bought out are suffering from not having any information about what's going on. So these are things to just keep in mind. I'm just keeping you guys updated on the situation. I will leave all of the links below so that you can go take a look at those. And with that, we have covered everything regarding Activision Blizzard for this particular week. And of course, if you haven't been following the coverage, please do so. I've got lots of videos where we talk about Activision Blizzard and the lawsuit and the various different elements and thought processes about the situation. And there will be another gaming news video where I cover other aspects of the gaming industry that occurred this week, and we're going to do that obviously in a separate video. But with that, thank you so much for being part of the Patreon. I appreciate all of your support, and remember to share the information that I'm doing these videos. If you like them, please let people excuse me, please let people know about how they can support. And also, I've released a poll because I want to cater the content to you, the patron, and to the viewers of these videos to see whether or not you want longer form but individual topics like this video, or if you prefer the longer form videos with multiple different topics and synthesized down into one happy video that you can listen to all of those topics. And of course, I've got a large variety of other options for you to consider. Definitely check out the poll. It's listed in Discord, it's on Patreon, it's in a bunch of different places. Please let me know. And if you're not subscribed to either of those things, then just send me a message and let me know what kind of content that you want to see moving forward. It's been a year that I've been doing gaming news and using Patreon, and I'd like feedback from you guys what you would like to see and what maybe will bring more people into the fray. So, with all of that said, thank you so much for your continued support. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.